All right, guys, in this video, I want to show you my very first rank and rent deal ever, my very first website that I ever built, the first deal that I got. I'm going to show you an example, and I'm going to tell you how I actually sold this website and this asset for over, I think I sold it for $9,000 to be exact, a couple of years after making it, in addition to making money from renting it out. And my reason for making this video is, number one, I want to show you an example of how simple these websites can and should be. I also want to show you, for those of you that are brand new to this, I want to show you what one of these assets actually looks like. We hear about these websites and these rank and rent assets, these little machines that go out and work for us while we're sleeping, while we're golfing, while we're traveling, while we're doing whatever. And I just want to show you guys literally one, just so you can actually see it with your own eyes. And then I want to tell you guys and kind of help you guys understand that these are not just static websites. These are assets. These are things that, if you so choose, you can sell them as assets because they actually produce income. And so for me, I wish I had never sold this asset, but I was in a position in my rank and rent business where I needed cash. I was in debt, and it was just one of those things where I needed that $9,000, and I sold it. And of course, now I wish that I didn't, because it would be making me $500 to $700 every single month. But it is what it is, and I want to show you guys that. So the very first, really quick, let me just walk you through this. I do not love this niche, okay? My very first website that I built, my very first asset I built, was in towing. At the time, it was not near as saturated, and I say saturated in the sense that, you know, all the other people that are doing rank and rent, all the other people that are doing digital real estate are in this niche. I didn't know that. And at the time, it wasn't quite as saturated. The other thing is, I didn't realize the margins. I didn't understand that when the niche that you're catering to, when there's not a lot of margins in that specific niche, there's not going to be a lot of margin for you, right? There's not going to be a lot of money for you to carve out. And so I didn't realize that. The third thing is, I didn't realize the business owner that I was going to be dealing with. Now, there has to be, I say there has to be because I haven't really come across a ton. There has to be some savvy people that do towing, because there's large towing companies, but a lot of the business owners that you'll work with in this niche, it's hard for them to see the big picture, and all they're looking at is the here, the now. How do I get enough money to buy the next truck? And I'm not even talking about their tow truck, their truck they drive every day. There's not a lot of vision, and it became very frustrating for me to work with these people. So I do not endorse or promote or love this niche. I'm just telling you that when I got into my first program, somebody was talking about towing, and I was like, I'm going to do towing. Okay. I also didn't have a good system for choosing a city. I didn't have a good due diligence process. The only reason I chose this city that I'm about to show you is because I was living in this city at the time doing door-to-door sales. And I was like, hey, I'm here. Maybe I can use my, in-person skills to go and sell this website. I didn't do the homework that was necessary, but I got lucky, guys. I got very lucky, and the city and the niche combination happened to be good. I happened to rank fairly quickly. Leads started to come in, and I was able to close this deal. So let me go ahead, and I'm going to share my screen really quick, and I'm going to show you guys this website. Okay, so here is the website. If you can see, it's not ranking in the maps. Now, again, keep in mind, I have since sold this asset. I do not own this asset as of 2019. But up until today, this asset is still ranking number one. And if I'm not mistaken, even the page title has not changed. The content has not changed. I know for a fact, because I would never say 24/7 anymore. But this is the website. Okay, so I just want to show you guys the organic ranking, at least for Towing Huntsville. I don't know if you type in tow truck Huntsville, if it's going to still rank. It ranks mid page one. Okay. Again, I do not own this asset, but I built this asset. Then I sold this asset. I made money on this asset, and I sold this asset for $9,000 USD back in 2019, which is probably closer to $12,000 to $13,000 now. Okay. So here's this beautiful website. Okay. towinghuntsville.com. I paid, what was it? $12, $15 for the domain. I bought a tracking number. This is still the same tracking number. I still remember this tracking number. I bought this tracking number, which of course I've since switched over. I paid $5 to $15 per month for this tracking number. These images were free images that I got. They're 100%. They have no copyright or anything like that. And I built this website, which they have done a few updates in terms of the aesthetic, But in terms of like the content and stuff, this is all the same content. I built this website. I would guess, because it was my first website, it took me between 20 and 40 hours. This website shouldn't have taken me that long, but because it was my first time and I was trying to figure out page titles, I was trying to figure out meta descriptions, I was trying to figure out, page descriptions, all the different things, H1s, which you can clearly see there, this, whatever. I would say between 20 and 40 hours. And I can't remember the exact amount of time, but it's crazy to think that 20 to 40 hours, I was able to go. And what ended up happening is I got this website, it started ranking, I started getting leads, and I started sending leads to some different companies. The first company I sent them to, nothing happened. The second company, they're like, okay, come in, let's talk. I actually went and sat with the company and I was able to strike up a deal. And I cannot remember the exact amount, but it was between $600 and $700 per month. And I got that deal, made some money on it. That kind of fizzled out because they started, complaining about the amount of leads, or not the amount of leads, but the quality. And I started listening to the calls and they weren't answering the calls well. At least I didn't think so. So I ended up losing that company. And to be very candid, the site kind of just sat there for a bit. There was a period of time, I want to say close to a year, where it was ranking. I was getting calls and I couldn't find anyone. I didn't know how to sell. I didn't have a sales process. And by this time I had moved out of Huntsville. So I couldn't go knock on any doors or anything like that. And I didn't have the sales process that I have now, but I didn't have anyone for a while. But eventually I buckled down and said, Nick, this is an asset sitting here, got leads coming in, and there's money to be made. So I was able to strike up a deal, and it wasn't a crazy deal. It was like $500 a month, but this is 100% organic, no ads, no nothing. So I was probably making, just north of $400 per month of profit. And it was shortly after I got that second deal, and I think I put a year contract on it. Maybe it was 6 months, that I then was able to sell this asset. What ended up happening is a friend of mine who's in this business had a really good year, messaged me, and we ended up just connecting. And at the end of the call, he said, hey, I'm looking for some write-offs. Do you have any websites that you want to sell? I'm happy to pay, and probably even overpay a little bit for them, because it's going to help me on taxes. And I said, well, let me look at what I got. And this is a website that I knew was consistent. I didn't want to give him some garbage or anything like that. It was consistent. I just gotten a deal. I had the contract, and I said, what about this one? And we agreed to a price of $9,000. So I was able to make, and again, this is just, I can't remember the exact amount of time, but I know for at least a few months, maybe it was 4 to 6 months, I was able to make $600 to $700 on the deal. Okay. Per month, every single month. And then there was a period of time where I lost that deal and I didn't focus on it. I was chasing shiny pennies. I was starting a software company, really just failing a software company. And I didn't pay attention to this website, even though leads were coming in. But then when I buckled down, I put together another deal for $500 a month, mostly profit. And I think that was not that long, maybe 1 or 2 months. I got that money. And then I was able to sell this asset for $9,000 and kind of exit out of this niche, this website, etc. But I want to show you guys this because for a couple of reasons. Number one is, if you're sitting here going, I don't know where to start and I don't know how to build a website, guys, this is one of the most hideous looking websites on the planet. And I wear that proudly because it's not about, excuse me, it's not about what it looks like. We're not getting paid to design. We're getting paid to perform. We're getting paid to produce leads. And the key is getting a website, making a website that is going to convert, and then focusing on ranking that website for the major keywords and getting people to call it and taking those calls and sending them to a business owner. So number one, you don't need to overthink this process. It's not that big of a deal. I didn't know how to build websites. I didn't even know what a domain was a few years back when I started. The second thing I want to show you is that this is more than just a couple bucks a month. This is more than making cash flow every month. These are assets that you could potentially get 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 of these, package them together and sell a portfolio of these to a larger company in a specific niche if you were able to execute properly, right? So these are actually assets that you can sell that have value outside of just the cash flow they produce, right? So I just want to show you that. And then thirdly, guys, I think the lesson is just start. Because for me, I didn't know what I was doing. Of course, I could have just as easily failed on this project, but I just started and I just went with it and I just did it. And I didn't have somebody like me that was telling me, hey, don't go into towing for these reasons. Don't go into this city for these reasons. I didn't have those things. I didn't have the due diligence process I have now that said, hey, you shouldn't go into this city if you see X, Y, and Z. I just did it. And I was able to make the money that I made. And on top of that, I was able to exit for $9,000. Okay. Now, the other crazy part is, think about the time that I put into this deal. Think about the money that I put into this deal and think about the ROI. I put in 20 to 40 hours one time. Okay. One time. That 20 to 40 hours was not recurring, not every month. That was my total hours spent in this deal, at least in building it. I did have other time selling it. I had that time one time. And then my overhead was very small. I had my domain, which is a couple bucks a month. I had my tracking number, which is a couple bucks a month. That's it. And I was able for that 20 to 40 hours to not only make that cash flow every month for those months that I had it rented out, but I was also able to exit for $9,000. You think about the return on that. I put almost nothing into this, just my time. It's not like a real estate deal where I went and I paid, put $20,000 in on about $100,000 property, and then it increased and appreciated, and then boom, 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 I made $9,000 and walked away from it a couple of years later after I paid, my real estate agent and the title company. It's not like that. I put almost nothing into this, guys. I put less than a couple $100 into this, and I was able to walk away with $9,000+ in cash, which I was able to use to keep my business alive. And again, I wish I hadn't sold this asset because I do not believe you should ever sell assets, but I needed to. I had to do it. So guys, this is a very simple example. Again, I don't own this website. I figured it'd be a cool story and a fun story because it was the first project I ever built. 20 to 40 hours, didn't know what I was doing, bought the domain, and just the content's not great. The page title's not great. Nothing is good about this website. It is what it is. But the moral of the story is, guys, just start. This business model is beautiful. This business model is so exciting and fun because you can just get started today. And even if you don't know what you're doing, you can still make money. Guys, this is my very first project ever, towing Huntsville. That's all I got for you guys. I'm out.